Yo, what is up guys, Delboy here. A quick preview and prediction for Oleksandr Gvozdyk versus Artur Beterbiev. This fight goes down on the 18th of October and it takes place in Philadelphia, USA. Obviously this fight is a light heavyweight unification fight. Oleksandr Gvozdyk, the WBC and lineal light heavyweight champion, and Artur Beterbiev is the IBF light heavyweight champion. Now, this is a great fight. You know, one of the best fights that has been made this year, if not the best fight that has been made this year. It's a crying shame that this fight is going under the radar and that the promotion has been poor, because this fight deserves a lot more attention. For me, this fight really does have everything. You know, it's a 50-50 on paper. Both guys can punch. Both guys are champions in or around the primes of their careers. Both guys have extensive amateur backgrounds, and the style contrast between both fighters should result in a great fight. It's just a shame this fight isn't getting the attention it deserves. But, you know, let's get into the tale of the tape briefly. We will start with the records. Oleksandr Gvozdyk has a record of 17-0 with 14 knockouts. He has a knockout ratio of 82%, and his opponent, Artur Beterbiev, has a record of 14-0 with 14 knockouts, a 100% knockout ratio. Oleksandr Gvozdyk, he is listed as 6'2" with a 75.5-inch reach. He is an orthodox fighter, whereas Artur Beterbiev is listed as 5'11.5" with a 73-inch reach. So Oleksandr Gvozdyk does have a 2.5-inch reach advantage, and also he's got a 2.5-inch height advantage. So Gvozdyk is the taller, longer guy. Will that play a factor on fight night? Potentially. We will get into that in a moment. And in regards to the punching power, as we know, both guys have high knockout ratios, but I would say Beterbiev is the harder puncher. Oleksandr Gvozdyk carries a lot of power in his right hand, particularly with the straight right, but I would say Artur Beterbiev is more evenly distributed when it comes to power. What I mean by that is he has tremendous power in both hands. You know, he's got an extremely powerful left hook and a powerful jab. Also, he's got a powerful right cross, powerful body shots, powerful uppercuts up close. Every single shot Beterbiev throws has the potential to knock you out. Even if he's throwing shots from 6 inches away, he can still generate the type of power that hurts you, drops you, or even stops you. Beterbiev is extremely heavy-handed, and I would say he is certainly the harder puncher out of the two. So punch power advantage, in my opinion, does go to Beterbiev in this one. I mentioned the records earlier on. Gvozdyk does have a few more fights as a pro than Beterbiev, and not only that, he's fought a higher level of competition. You know, he's fought Adonis Stevenson, for example, who is much better than anybody Beterbiev has fought. So in terms of pro rank experience and fighting top competition, so Gvozdyk certainly has the advantage in that sense, in the sense of he's actually fought the elite of the elite in the light heavyweight division, and he's passed that test, whereas Beterbiev hasn't managed to do that yet. So that is worth considering. But enough of the tale of a tape, let's talk about how we feel this fight will go down. Now for me, this is the Matador versus the Bull. You know, Gvozdyk being the Matador, Beterbiev being the Bull. Oleksandr Gvozdyk, lovely boxer, beautiful 1-2, extremely quick on his feet for a light heavyweight, and excellent counter-punching ability. He likes to keep it from range, ideally. That's when he's in his wheelhouse, when he's got you at the end of his punches, when he's got time, space to operate. That is when Gvozdyk is at his best. Beterbiev, on the flip side, he will apply pressure, he will march forwards with quick feet, he will try to cut the ring off with that ramrod jab, and when he gets close, he will let go of severe power shots. You know, Beterbiev really is a crash bang wallop type of fighter. You know, when he's up close, he will throw his shots and they have mean intentions. He's the guy applying pressure. He's the guy swinging the hammer against the nail. So, you know, it's a great style contrast it really is a case of the boxer versus the pressure fighter. The only difference here is both of these guys have extreme power, so there's very little room for error in this fight. And that's what makes it so exciting. Now, a lot of people I've noticed are favouring Oleksandr Gvozdyk to win this fight, and I can totally see why. Oleksandr Gvozdyk has the style to exploit the holes in Beterbiev's game. There's no doubt about it, and he throws certain shots that can exploit those holes. As I've mentioned, Beterbiev is a front foot heavy fighter, and at times I wouldn't say he comes in with reckless abandonment, but he certainly takes chances, and defensively he is there to be hit at times. Oleksandr Gvozdyk's best punch for me is his counter right hand, the straight right hand down the pipe. He delivers that shot extremely quickly, extremely accurately, with big power, and these shots really aren't telegraphed at all. Beterbiev has had a habit of getting hit with that shot in the past, even if you go back and watch his last fight with Gvozdyk. Now, he beat Gvozdyk up, but Gvozdyk was catching Beterbiev quite regularly with that long straight right hand. And also earlier on in Beterbiev's career, he actually got dropped by a guy called Jeff Page Jr., I want to say, and that was with a straight right hand as Beterbiev was coming in. He's open to that shot due to his style. Sometimes he'll come forwards, his guard isn't where it really should be, and he leaves openings for that straight right hand. So he needs to watch out for that. That is a danger punch for Artur Beterbiev to try to avoid. Not only that, Beterbiev, like I said again, front foot heavy fighter. A lot of the time, Beterbiev has a habit of leaving his head on centre line. You know, he doesn't move his head much. He'll come forwards, and his head will be kind of like before his front knee, if that makes sense. So his head's down, and it's on centre line. He's a sucker for that right uppercut. He's open for that shot. That shot is there for him. I saw that against Gvozdyk, but Gvozdyk wasn't taking advantage of that. I think Tim Bradley on the broadcast made a mention of that also. You know, the fact that Beterbiev is open for an uppercut. And again, Gvozdyk can deliver those shots with extreme accuracy, precision and power. He's got a very nice uppercut. So that's another punch Beterbiev needs to be wary of coming forwards. My point being, Beterbiev will give Gvozdyk the openings to land these big counter shots. And it's whether Gvozdyk can take those opportunities and make them count, or will he become flustered with the pressure that Beterbiev will bring. Another thing to mention is Oleksandr Gvozdyk's foot speed and hand speed. He's very swift on his feet for a light heavyweight, and that is something else Beterbiev could have problems with. So far in Beterbiev's career, apart from Gvozdyk, I would say he's fought guys who have had fairly slow feet, and as a result, it's been easy for him to cut the ring off. Against Gvozdyk, he's going to have to work quite a bit harder to close that distance, you know, and that is something else that could give Beterbiev problems in this fight. Not that Beterbiev doesn't have quick feet himself coming forwards, because he does. He cuts the ring off quite quickly, but he's not fought anybody as fleet of foot as Oleksandr Gvozdyk. And that is another aspect of this fight to really consider. And one more aspect of Oleksandr Gvozdyk's game that I really, really rate, and that I was really impressed with against Stevenson, was his ability to take Adonis Stevenson's best weapon away from him, and that was that straight left hand out of that southpaw stance. He was circling away from Stevenson's power hand, you know, constantly moving, throwing feints. He was keeping Adonis off balance, and he was making Adonis miss with that left hand. And we all know what happened in that fight. He got the job done. So the bottom line is, Oleksandr Gvozdyk, in my opinion, is the better technical boxer. He's the guy who has shown me more as a pro, and I think he's got more strings to his bow in comparison to Artur Beterbiev. So Beterbiev has a lot of things to overcome to win this fight, in my opinion. However, that doesn't mean he can't win this fight. You know, Oleksandr Gvozdyk in the past, in certain fights, has looked a little bit fragile at times, not always that strong in the pocket, And he appears to be the type of guy who potentially could get roughed up. If you're that guy, you don't want to fight somebody like Artur Beterbiev. And also, the guy has been hurt himself. You know, he got dropped by Tommy Karpency. He has looked a little bit lackluster in certain fights. He does have the tendency to switch off. Maybe that is the case of him fighting lower level competition and he can't get up for it. Because against Stevenson, he was really spot on and he got everything right. So that could be a case of Gvozdyk just not taking lower level competition seriously. That could be the case, but, you know, I still maintain that this guy does look a little vulnerable if you can get in on him and get to the inside, push him back, rough him up. I still maintain he looks a little bit vulnerable in those positions, and if that is the case, like I said, the last guy you want to fight is Artur Beterbiev. You know, for me, this fight hinges on whether Artur Beterbiev can negate Oleksandr Gvozdyk's long-range boxing and distance control. Can he negate that to get to the inside? That is the million-dollar question. Can he get past that jab, that long right hand, and can he get past those counter shots? If he can, and he can get inside and collapse the pocket, I truly believe Artur Beterbiev will win this fight. I think he'll get in the pocket, he'll rough Oleksandr Gvozdyk up, and he will knock out Oleksandr Gvozdyk. I truly believe that. But, you know, it's getting there. And that is the million-dollar question, because him trying to get there could result in him getting knocked out. You know, one bad move against Gvozdyk, you could be walking onto that straight right hand, you could be going night-night. You could be walking onto a right uppercut, you could be going night-night. And, you know, the room for error in this fight really is narrow. You can't afford to make any wrong moves in this fight because you could get knocked out, and that goes for either guy. But something tells me, my gut tells me Beterbiev wins this fight. I think the pressure he brings will break Oleksandr Gvozdyk. I really do. If Beterbiev can march forwards with a nice tight guard, you know, use those quick feet to close the range, use that ramrod jab to force Gvozdyk back, force Gvozdyk against the ropes or in the corner and tee off. In those scenarios, I don't see Gvozdyk, you know, coping too well, if I'm being honest. If Beterbiev manages to collapse the pocket on numerous occasions, I think it will catch up to Gvozdyk, and I believe he will end up getting stopped. And another thing to consider is the Stevenson fight. Has that done any mental damage to Oleksandr Gvozdyk? Oleksandr Gvozdyk is a very quietly spoken man. He's a family man. And, you know, the type of thing that happened to Stevenson could play on his mind. I think he's the type of fighter where that could happen. And if there's any remaining kind of impact from that Stevenson fight in the back of your mind, again, Beterbiev isn't the type of dude you want to be fighting. He's not. And, you know, like I said, sometimes with fights, I will go into a fight with a clear, concise viewpoint on who's going to win. I don't have that on this fight, I have to confess. However, just my gut instinct tells me Beterbiev wins this fight, and I think he'll win it by knockout. That's how I feel about this fight. Don't get it twisted, I can see it going either way, but you guys want a pick, so I'm picking Artur Beterbiev by knockout. I'm not picking a round, I'm not picking a, you know, like a duration of a fight where I think it's going to happen. Just at some point, I believe he will stop Oleksandr Gvozdyk. And one more thing about Beterbiev that I'm always impressed with, he actually does a good job of punching on the front foot, and he uses a technique called shifting, and a lot of Eastern European fighters do that, and Beterbiev can utilise that as well. Another great tool for cutting off a ring. You know, not many people talk about shifting when it comes to cutting off a ring. You know, usually people mention, you know, jabbing your way in, having quick feet, you know, don't follow in straight lines. That's what people usually mention, but nobody really mentions shifting. And Beterbiev can do that very well. He'll like to shift with a 1-2-1, like a jab, right hand, followed by another jab. You know, like Kovalev does that as well. And Beterbiev, if he can utilize that shifting technique, that's another way how he can cut the ring off against Oleksandr Gvozdyk and apply immense pressure. So listen, we've got Artur Beterbiev by knockout, but I can genuinely see it going either way. One thing I will be surprised with is if this fight goes for distance. I believe somebody is taking a trip into Dreamworld to meet Freddy Krueger. Somebody's going to sleep. Share your thoughts below. Peace.